on your Instagram, you can go live on that stream on your live screen in the upper right. Click go live, and we should be good. It's going to take a second.
There we go.
There we go. And that Instagram should be muted over there, but it automatically defaults to being muted, so don't worry about it.
Hold on, Otis. God damn it.
What's up?
Hold up.
No cursing. What's up, folks? Sorry. We sound checking for like another 30 seconds, and then we're going to jump into it. So click go live again. You may have to click it a couple times on your Instagram.
Cool. And I went out and came back in. Is it the same stream key?
No. That's why I said you have to.
So I went out and came back in by accident.
Okay. Well,
so you're gonna need the stream key.
So yeah, go get the stream key. That's why I said leave the page open. He said I went out by accident. No, you went out. What was happening was I was minding my own business. I turned around, the computer kicked me out. That's what we used to lie to how to get off Zoom calls with that. I don't know. I'm not familiar with what happened. It seems to the technology just AI.
Okay, just sent.
Okay, how'd you send it? Email.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get back. I'm sorry. We're gonna get right in a second. All right, so let me wait for that to come through. We're gonna be going over multifamily investing 101. I used to do that all the time, be on Zoom calls, and then I just be like, click, get off, and then people would be texting me like, "Hey, what's going on?" I was like, "What? Oh, did you guys kick me out?" I had to something else I wanted to do better. All right. I'll go live on TikTok now too. So, if you guys have another device, whichever one you guys have another device, then.
So are you gonna jump on? Are you on TikTok right now?
Yep. I'm on TikTok right now.
Do it.
So just remember, you're going to have to mute one of them, but it doesn't matter which one you mute because it's all going through the mixer, and you should be good. So there should be no worries there. And James, if you could go over to, I should be showing up on Facebook. So if you see me there, can you just make sure the sound is all right, if you could? And Tavares, you can find me on TikTok, and James, you can also, after you do that. And Tavares, I don't have. Go ahead and stream that. Go text me that. Go ahead and text me that stream key, folks. We're gonna jump in about.
I emailed it to you.
I know, but I didn't get the email to Otis at 4 data points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's on the same thread.
I know, but it didn't come through yet. We gotta wait. All right. That's all right. Okay, there's James right there.
You got it?
No. All right, so James, I just invited you. Hold on. All right, so I'll invite James. And there's Tavares there. So both of you guys are invited there. James, how's my sound on Facebook? Did you check it?
Sounds good.
Okay. So go ahead and mute one of okay, there you go. Yeah, I can hear you on TikTok, and so can everybody else, James. So you can leave the StreamYard muted, just like you have it. And you can too, Tavares. You got to mute one of them.
I muted the phone. Oh. Well, I did. But wait, hold up. There we go.
It's so good.
So I'm good on StreamYard.
All right, let me put that. I'm gonna put your stream key in, and we gonna rock out. There it is. So I just got your new stream key. So let me go put that in there. Copy that. And Tavares, there you are. I gotta remove that destination, and I gotta add it back. All right. And Tavares, A. Garrett, 2 R's.
Yes.
2 R's, 2 T's.
Correct. Oh wait, I didn't do the
And then your stream key. All right. So now, Tavares, you should be able to go live on your you got to click go live on your Instagram, and you should be good. We're just 3 dads trying to figure it out. It's all good. Just 3 dads trying to figure it out. All right. So you may have to click it a couple times. So you see our live stream showing up in your Instagram?
I do.
All right. Then I think we finally good to go. How can I get in contact with you? She's looking. Let James help, or just come up on stage and get his. Oh, James got it. All right. All right. Finally. Shoot. We're gonna get into multifamily commercial investing, but it is a business. Tavares, you were in the multifamily commercial industry for some time, and dabble back in every now and again. James specializes in business acumen coaching, which is pretty much involved in anything you're going to do that makes a dollar. James, let me go ahead and talk, so I just make sure you're coming across clearly, because you're muted on both of them right now.
Yeah. So, how am I sounding here?
Yep, good to go.
Perfect.
All right. So there's a echo when I respond, but it's all good. We can navigate through it. You probably do better speaking on TikTok if it's not too much trouble. People can see your pretty face on the live show.
I think if I speak on TikTok, people can't hear me though, right?
Yeah, they can. It's coming through my roadcaster, so you're good to go.
All right, let's try it. Hang on.
All right. Just 3 dads trying to figure it out.
All right. How about now?
There you go. That's a lot better, actually.
All right, cool.
There it is. All right, folks. See, look, that's 5 minutes you'll never get back, but we're doing it. All right. We had a good conversation yesterday. Shout out to the Win and Real. We had a good conversation yesterday from the Anthony Glenn is a good friend of mine, Win and Real Estate crew down there. But I always get people that reach out after these live streams and ask questions about multifamily commercial investing. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Otis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a licensed real estate broker in a couple states, former mortgage broker. We funded just short of $1 billion during the time that I was doing that in our small office down in San Jose, California. I spent I'm technically still in, but I spent over 2 decades in the multifamily commercial industry. When I exited that, I was overseeing $650 million in multifamily commercial assets. I'm licensed in life insurance. No, I'm not in a life insurance business, but because I use it to invest in real estate, and I wanted to be able to speak intelligently about that part of investing, I got licensed in life insurance. On the non-real estate related side, I generated a 7-figure company out of $585. And let me see what else. I'm a long-term hold investor. I've consulted on multiple projects, domestic and abroad. I invest all over the country. I'm also the founder of what you see on my hat here, 4 Data Points Academy, which is a real estate investing training platform where we take people from zero knowledge and they stay on with me until they determine they're good enough to go out on their own. We are one of the only companies that do that. Why? Because we started it to create real estate investors. Other companies start businesses to see how much money they can make, which is the right reason to start a business, which is why some of my counterparts have boats and planes, and I have a Cadillac. But it's okay. I'm a real estate investor first. I use my real estate investing to supplement certain aspects of our program. And we teach people all of the real estate investing strategies, not just residential fix and flips and, the basics, but all the way up into multifamily commercial, which is what we are going to be talking about today. So anybody that wants to jump up on stage on the TikTok side, feel free. I will let you up to go ahead and ask your questions. Anybody on the other platforms that have questions, feel free, and we will make sure we don't cut this thing short until we answer all of the questions. Now, Tavares, I think on TikTok you could bring people up, right? Is that no? If you say don't do
Nope.
it. Don't do it.
Nope. Can't bring people up.
You'll shut the whole live stream down. Yeah, I think I can do it. I can just. What does this button do? All right.
Yeah.
Where is Dwayne? Tell Dwayne to come through. So if you guys share this conversation, focus on multifamily commercial investing, but we're going to talk about all investing. And the reason why we'll mix it up a little bit is because some of the things that you encounter in the residential side carry over into multifamily commercial. But multifamily commercial is not for the weak at heart. Amen.
Amen.
I get Crystal keeps popping up. I'm like, I don't want to miss something important that she's saying. All right, James, tell everybody who you are, where you from, real quick, brother.
What's going on, everybody? My name is James Lewis. I am from the Bay, but I currently live in Colombia, South America.
You can't claim it no more.
Come on, man. Of course I can claim it.
You might as well claim Florida.
I'm a forever rep the Bay, man.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah, no, actually, I don't. You're right. If I was to go back to the States, it would not be the Bay. I would go back to Florida.
Yeah, because the Bay sucks. Shout out to the Bay.
But I am not from Florida. I'm not. Anyways,
we're from San Jose, California, folks.
Yeah, San Jose. Anyways, so I am an expat. I live in Colombia, South America. Look, it's a beautiful thing when you can, reap the benefits of your business and live the lifestyle that you want. And so that is what I do. Look, I'm a business consultant, really, but what drives me is I turn entrepreneurs into chief executives. And what that means is, I want folks to work on their business and not in their business. I want to take the stress out of your lives. I want you to make your business more effective, and I want you to make more money. And so there's 7 rules that I focus on. 1 is your values. 2 is process. 3 is build a team. Number 4 is competencies. We develop through competencies. Number 5, good business decisions are made based on data and not emotion. Number 6, have a plan, right? Good business people have a plan. And number 7 is accountability delivers action. So look, leadership is the root of all success. Leadership is how you make all of those rules work together. And so ultimately, I'm in the business of developing leaders. And so when you look with the 4 Data Points Academy, we make real estate investors. And like Otis talked about, real estate is a business. And the most successful real estate investors are ones that treat their real estate as a business, not as something that they're doing on the side. And so I'm proud to be on this journey and help people grow their business.
That's what's up. And we always appreciate you. Tavares, tell everybody who you are and where you're from, sir.
What's up, everyone? I am Boris from the Bay Area, like these other 2 gentlemen. I am health and transformation body certified by the National Academy of Medicine. You're probably wondering what I'm doing. Real estate investing room. I also serve as manager of relations here at the Academy. Wellness is important into this business, right? Because you want to be able to enjoy your labor. What's the point of going into business, a lot of money, not enjoy, right? What's the point if you're spending more time in the hospital than you are on vacation? So this is where wellness comes into play. I'm here for that reason. My dear friends, my ears, and Jane. So with that being said, stage. Let's.
All right, that's what's up, man. I appreciate you, brother. All right, we're gonna jump in. I get all these buttons. At Anthony's house, we do live stream. He got a whole studio broadcasting.
I'm not sure everybody could hear Tavares well.
Tavares, go ahead and talk again.
Hello.
Yeah, we hear him all right. Did somebody make a comment, James?
In the chat, it says James.
Yeah, somebody made a comment and I can't hear it.
Okay, all right. So let me check with Tavares. All right, Tavares, you are
Santel says his mic looks muted.
Yeah. So, Tavares, are you muted on TikTok?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you muted on? Well, you're not muted on live stream. So why don't you go ahead and unmute? I'm not. Oh, okay. Why don't you go ahead and
You want me to unmute on live stream?
Unmute on TikTok. I'll mute you here. Unmute on TikTok. You're still muted on TikTok.
All right.
There you go. You hear him now, James?
That sounds better.
I can. I don't know if we have a way to validate that people on Instagram can hear him.
All right.
I'm talking through.
Nah, Santel on TikTok says, there we go.
I get it because you're talking through TikTok. My point is, I don't know if everybody can hear on Instagram.
And Instagram. Okay. Nina International, can you hear Tavares on Instagram? Okay, she says she can hear him and he sounds better. All right. Thank you. See, we're just three dads trying to figure it out. That's all. We all got VCRs at the house flashing 12 o'clock noon. Don't worry about it. This is a judge-free zone. We'll figure it out.
Don't nobody know what a VCR is.
Y'all don't know what a VCR. Oh, y'all better say y'all don't know what a VCR is. Oh, and next thing you're gonna tell me you don't know what a payphone is. All right.
Hello.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump in. And what we'll try to do is, we'll try to manage the sound best we can until TikTok has a way to incorporate into StreamYard. Then we got to kind of jury rig the setup here, but that's okay because we're gonna work it out and we're gonna make sure that you guys get some valid information. James, did you tell everybody where you live now? What country you live in?
I did, sir.
All right. Yeah. Speaking of Medellin, we have a business retreat on Q4. So we've only got a few spaces for that, but we are going to occupy a villa, and I'm flying in subject matter experts, not just in real estate, but business in general. That will be for 5 days. So we will all be under the same roof. So if you are somebody that has a business, and I'll go ahead and room reset every 20 minutes or so. If you're somebody that has a business, wants to start a business, or started a business, is trying to scale that business up, then this would be probably the one opportunity for you to have everybody that can help you do that in one room. We're going to go everything from automations to structure to processes. There were 8 core items that we were going to tackle that I went over on the discussion I had yesterday morning on TikTok. But we're going to tackle a lot more than that. So that is called Venture U. So if you go to ventureu.live, or you just text that number above my head on TikTok, and I will go ahead and put it on Instagram for you guys to text. If you're interested for a brochure or more information, 702. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. I'd be more than happy to have you all. So, multifamily commercial. Now, Tavares, tell everybody what you did in the multifamily commercial industry, because you managed some of the developments and you kind of worked your way up. I started entry level and then left at the corporate level, but you were in you worked your way up. You started on the sales side and then worked your way up to the management side. So you'll understand a lot of what I talk about when we get into systems and all those things you need to know, not just to acquire multifamily commercial. That's easy. I can even teach you how to acquire it without paying for it up front. But that doesn't mean that you can operate it. And it's easy to put yourself in a position where you can acquire a money pit if you don't know what you're doing. So, Tavares, just real quick, what was your role in the multifamily commercial industry, just to give people some point of reference, and then we'll jump into some of the things that I want to go over today.
Yeah, sure. Spent over 10.5 years in the multifamily industry. Started off as a concierge, worked my way up to a business manager. In between all that, like Otis mentioned, got into sales. From sales, went to being a assistant manager. From there, a property manager, and so on. Managed multiple properties at one time while I was living in Los Angeles. And one of my specialties was vendor relations. I always felt that to be a very important relationship because you take care of your vendors, they'll take care of you, especially if you're in a pinch, right? And so we got new lease agreements, recertifying existing lease agreements. I also did a lot of occupied updates or upgrades, I should say, and also non-occupied upgrades on units, right? Turning units in a matter of a week, right? And going back again to the vendors. I would have vendors in position where they would work together in unison seamlessly because I like to get things done. So being able to run the property and then, of course, manage over 300 units, manage people, manage energies, all of that. So like I said, I have a lot of experience in the multifamily industry, everything from concessions to increasing rents. I mean, you name it, I did it, I touched it. So yeah, happy to be here and happy to share any information that I have that may be helpful to anyone out there.
Absolutely. And James, on the business side of things, what's your experience? Because I want to tie that into what we're doing since running a multifamily commercial operation, it is a business and you have to treat everyone like its own business, right? The goal is to acquire, put someone in place to manage the business, and then be able to plan an exit at some time. So what is your experience on the business side of things?
So I've owned several businesses, but that's not it's actually not the experience I lean on. The experience I lean on is I've spent a couple of decades working for, some of the most successful companies on the planet, companies like Home Depot, companies like CarMax. These are companies that make almost $100 billion a year. And so for those companies, I was a senior leader. I've run businesses as much as $300 million a year. I've had as many as 300 direct reports, as many as 1,500 or so indirect reports. And so those are pretty large organizations that I've been responsible for. And so you learn. I'll give you an example. One of the operations I ran, my leadership team alone was 40 people. That was just my leadership team, right? There's 17 different departments. And so, when you have that type of complexity in your business, you can run any business. Literally, I can run any business. Any business. It doesn't really matter. It's why my 7 rules work for any business. And it's why when you think about, one of the things I always say to people is, the most successful or the most accomplished and knowledgeable business people in the world, literally in the world, aren't necessarily, they're not entrepreneurs. They're not who you would think. They're people who are running multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, right? Those people are technically employees, right? And so those are the people who I work with and works for. And so that's my experience that I lean on.
All right. Well, we're going to incorporate that, folks. So if you were just kind of keep us posted about the sound, if you're on Instagram or Facebook and you hear a long pause with nobody talking, that means you can't hear one of the speakers. So just keep us posted if you could, just so we can make sure that we have all this stuff taken care of. Nicholas, what's going on, man? I see you got an echo over on YouTube. So let me know who that is. Nicholas is in our real estate family, by the way. So shout out to Nick. All right. So understanding the property market, that's the first thing. So most people will get a multifamily commercial opportunity, but they don't know how to determine whether or not it's worth it to purchase, because a lot of the training teaches you how to invest in multifamily commercial, but a lot of those trainers weren't operators. So in context, I'm an investor first. When I was in the corporate environment in the multifamily commercial setting, Nick says it's clear now. All right, cool. In a multifamily commercial setting, I focused on being an operator. And then I acted as a liaison between the operations side and the ownership groups. So a lot of these ownership groups are very well capitalized. And some of the developments that I was responsible for making sure were profitable, they had purchased these for, $400 million. So it was, some significant investing on their part. And that entire 20 years or so, I was more interested in the operations side of things than my actual role how the operations tied into the investing side of things, the ownership side. This is before I ever owned multifamily commercial. So I was always a student, and I was performed at a level high enough to where I was always in front of the people that mattered. in a particular situation. So when I started training people how to invest in multifamily commercial, the investing part, the acquisition side was easy. I mean, you can throw a rock and find somebody teaching that. Making sure it's profitable and understanding all of the things to look at is where people get in trouble. And that's why our program doesn't have an end date, because there's certain experiences that you can't plan for. There are certain things that are going to come up, and you can't teach somebody everything, or you'll be, behind a Zoom screen with me for the next 5 years, right? So once you understand the fundamentals, then you get out there and implement the practical application of those fundamentals, and then I hold your hand through the process so we can navigate these things together. A lot of those conversations have to do with people not looking at everything, right? A lot of people say, okay, well, this is what it's going to cost me to buy it. This is how much it's going to hit me every month. This is my monthly obligation on it. And this is how much money it makes. Minus my expenses, this is how much money I net. So they leave it at those really basic financials. But there are some decisions that people have to make. And by the way, anybody on TikTok or anywhere, feel free to come up. I see messages on TikTok, but I'm trying to keep up. I don't want to get distracted. I'll go ahead and invite you guys up. Feel free. As a complete beginner and looking to get into this business, what would I advise for preparation? So that's a good question, actually. So somebody that's looking to get into real estate investing, I would say get the education first. Learn how to do it first. You know, take a course, right? I don't offer my course to the general public anymore because I don't think it's enough to turn somebody into a real estate investor, but it is enough to increase your knowledge. I would say find a mentor. Just understand what it takes, what questions to ask when you're looking at a mentor. For example, the primary driver for you getting a mentor is to get support. So one of your questions when you're asking somebody to mentor you, and I would strongly recommend that your mentor is an organization and not just one person that knows how to do this. I get it. That's okay. You do what you can where you are with what you have. But if they have an organization and they have a way to deliver this information that's organized, easily received, and still able to offer you the support long term, it shows that they have some business acumen around what they're doing. All right. So I would say get the information first, get a mentor, learn the fundamentals, and learn real estate investing for residential and real estate investing for multifamily commercial, because some of those things carry over and you are going to scale up in asset class. That's one of the benefits of being a part of an organization that trains you and doesn't have an end date. Because I know people aren't going to want to flip houses for, gosh, for very long. They may do 3, 4, 5 of them. I have one friend who's flipped 150 homes. That's not the easiest way to wealth. Now, learn how to flip homes. And James, I'm gonna come to you in a second because I want you to identify some of the problems and things that come up with flipping homes that add to the anxiety, around doing it. But learn how to flip homes because some of that knowledge carries over to multifamily commercial investing. And once you know all of the mechanics of investing in the residential side, meaning you know how to invest when interest rates are 3%, you know how to invest when interest rates shoot up to 7%, you know how to invest when your credit tanks, you know how to invest when you run out of capital, you know how to invest when you got to work a full-time job to get through, when you see an opportunity 2,500 miles away, but you can't leave work to do it. You master all of those, then go up to multifamily commercial. There's a lot less anxiety, right? James, would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, 100%. Can I say something else still?
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
So sometimes people's questions provoke a thought, and so I want to add this caveat that what I say may not apply to the person asking the question. It's just the thought that the question provoked. Anyways, so look, I have 7 rules, and have a plan is one of those rules. So
Hold on, Tiara. Hold on, James. You got to come on mute, Tiara. You guys come up. There you go. Go ahead, James.
I think so.
I could have had 100 rules, but I didn't. I had 7, only 7. And planning is so important that that's one of the rules. All right, so let's set that aside for a second. One of the things I'm really good at is talking out of both sides of my mouth. Okay, so
I second that.
so even as planning is critical and it's very important, it is as important as a business leader that you're about action. Right, one of the most important business leaders in my life, somebody who's taught me so much. He used to always say, "Hey, James, look, as a business owner, you have to be about action. You have to get, you know what, done. You have to get done." Okay. And so, why do I say that? The reason I say that is I find myself often in consultation with clients or folks who just ask me for advice, pushing them to be about action when they're in the mind of planning. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of business and a lot of things in life are about psychology, and it's important to understand how our mind works. And when we put ourselves in the headspace of planning, often we're taking our headspace out of action. And what we have to understand as business leaders is we got to be able to do both. And so I always try to impress upon people that, hey, look, you want to get into real estate investing, great. Let's start now, right? Let's get out of the saying, hey, I want to get into it. Let's just say I'm a real estate investor, right? And talk about how to act from where you are. Now, part of acting where you are properly is planning, obviously. But there's just because my business is where it is today and I want to plan for where it's going to be tomorrow and 5 years from now and 10 years from now, doesn't mean that I'm not going to do things to make money today in my business. So I hope I've said that clear, which is, to Otis's point, getting a mentor and getting the education, all of those things are going to help you act now. And there's so many things that you can do to act now that I want people to stop thinking so much about, okay, how do I get prepared to act tomorrow? For example, sorry to keep belaboring this, but for example, here's some specifics about what I hear with real estate. Oh, do I have enough money saved? Oh, is my credit high enough? I've got so much going on with my job right now. Like there's all these things that people put in front of themselves to say, hey, I can't get started yet. And what I'm here to say is, yeah, you can get started. It's about how do we plan for a better tomorrow, but act today.
Amen. Nice. And Brown Sugar, did you hear what James was saying? I know you just jumped in on Instagram, but we've been having some issues with the sound. So if you could hear what James was just saying, just put a yes in the chat. He's both of these gentlemen are gonna appear muted. So you guys are hearing them actually through TikTok, through my mixer. So that's where the sound's coming from. Just making sure everybody can hear them. But exactly. And part of the planning is, thank you, Fox. Part of the planning is startup costs. So it comes in phases. And this is the natural progression, in my opinion, but it doesn't mean that it's ironclad. The natural progression is somebody comes in to our real estate family and we teach them the fundamentals for about 7-8 weeks. We don't overwhelm them. It's just, a couple hours a week in the evenings. And then they do their first project. Now, I've got enough lessons to keep you behind a screen for the next year or year and a half. All right. But a lot of that is information, and information, the effectiveness of it pales in comparison to the practical application of that information. So we have the fundamentals. Now let's get out there and do the stuff, because any challenge that you come across when you're out there trying to actually do the stuff is a good thing, because that's an opportunity that I can navigate you through. And that learning is going to be far more effective than giving you a bunch of different scenarios and showing you how to navigate as many scenarios as we can think of, because you're not going to think of everything. Labor cost is different all over the country. Code requirements are different all over the country. Different geographical locations have different climates. All of those things impact your willingness or ability to invest. So I tell people, get the fundamentals first. Now get out there and try to do the stuff. And let me walk you through the stuff in real life. And if there's a challenge, let's go ahead and meet that challenge, whether good or bad, and I'll show you how to navigate that challenge. That's the best training anyone is ever going to get, doing the stuff in real life. Now, along that way, we plan, and there's things that I teach people to look at to make sure that we don't get into something that we can't get out of. But real estate investing, the world of real estate investing, there is always going to be some level of risk, even though it may be very, very minimal, depending on what it is you're doing. There's too many things beyond your control, right? All of our investing projections today could change tomorrow if interest rates go up 2%. So we have to look at that differently. So when somebody is going into their first project, there is a planning phase that we do for that project, just like there should be a planning phase for you deciding how far you want to take your real estate investing journey. Do you just want to know how to flip homes, or do you want to one day have a real estate investing business that you can step away from? And that's where the business acumen component comes in. All right, because that means you have to have systems in place. And let's take it to multifamily commercial. If you buy a 20-unit multifamily commercial building, there are certain things that you have to understand about operations that are going to impact your buying decision. They don't teach this stuff in a lot of these different multifamily commercial courses because they weren't operators. I was responsible for writing a budget for some of these developments. That means I had to account and plan for every penny that comes in and every penny that goes out, to the tune of $55 million annually. That budget had over 300 line items. So, and then I had to account every month for why we were over or under budget. Well, I had managers that reported to me that had to do it, eventually. But when you're looking at something that granular, you really get to master it. So when I got into teaching people how to invest in real estate, I was head and shoulders above the rest of the people that were doing it. Even some of the ones that you see on TikTok and Instagram every 4 seconds because they pay $100,000 a month in marketing. All right. So when I teach people, there's a longevity component, and you don't have to keep paying me and on all that, because we look better when people actually become real estate investors. Now we've had people come with no experience and then, stay on with us for 2-3 years. And I think our number one person has like 30 doors right now. So we're relatively new, but I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been training people for some time. And some of the people that I've trained in the multifamily space went on to manage developments valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Not only that, got awarded for highest NOI, net operating income increase year over year. So I know how to teach the stuff, but I also live the stuff, and I live it every day. I'm a real estate investor first, and I live this every single day. So that was a very long answer to a short question. But the question for those that are just tuning in was, basically it was, where should I start? And I always say you should incorporate real estate investing education as part of your startup costs. And if you are going to pay somebody to teach you how to do it, make sure you understand what you're paying for. Make sure you understand the level of support that you are going to be getting. The level of support. We do things that go way above and beyond. Our only obligation is to teach people how to become real estate investors. But a lot of my students, and Tavares, you've been privy to this, and I know James has been privy to this. I've had to actually step in and do the stuff for them to make sure that they didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, what's her name? I'm not gonna say her on TikTok. What's her Queen Bee Rowland? Anyway, she's an old friend. So when you're starting into getting into real estate investing, there's a lot of people that teach it. Just be careful. Make sure you understand what you're paying for. All right. For me, just starting with us is $6,000. If you don't have $6,000 to learn about real estate investing, you probably shouldn't get into real estate investing. You're going to pay that for the inspections on one deal in a multifamily commercial side. And the fact that there's no end date with us means I'm allocating time and resources to you for as long as you need it. And that could be years. $6,000 is nothing when you look at what you get. Our two closest competitors, they're not close. They're just the closest out of everybody, charge $25,000 to $35,000 annually. All right. And I don't want to do that. I wanted to bring real estate investing to the everyday person. right? And if you can't, if $6,000 is not attainable for you, that's okay. There's times where it wasn't attainable for me either. I'm not saying anything about that. You just probably need to refine your current situation until $6,000 is manageable. We priced it that low for a reason. If you don't think that's low, trust me, you're going to be in for a rude awakening when you get into multifamily commercial investing. I did an inspection on a multifamily commercial building. The inspection, the home inspection, the property inspection was $4,700 just to show me enough information to help me determine that I didn't want the building. $4,700. So if your relationship with money is that would have really hurt you, that would have really hurt you emotionally. Now, maybe it set you back a little, financially, but if that hurts you emotionally, you're just not ready to be a real estate investor because it gets so much worse than that. All right. So much worse.
Hey,
Go ahead, James.
So, two other things. One, a thought from what you're saying, but the other one, I just kind of want to go back. If you're starting out, one of the other things I think is really, really important for people is you got to understand how to assess a deal, and you got to understand that that's the most important thing, right? What's funny is I always say that's the most. I have like 100 things that I say is the most important thing, but anyway.
But that actually is, I think.
Understanding how to assess a deal is the most important thing, right? So there's a phrase out there that a buddy of ours used to say, that you don't make money when you sell the asset, you make money when you buy the asset. So here's the deal, folks. You can make a whole lot of mistakes and you can screw up a whole lot of stuff on a great deal, and you still, like, the consequences, you don't make as much money as you would have before, all right? But you're not gonna lose any money. If you didn't buy the deal right and you do everything right, you can still lose your shirt, right? So we have to be buying the right properties. And I think, Otis, you probably agree that probably the most common thing that we run into is people buying property for the wrong reasons. Oh, yes. And people buying property without really understanding whether it's a good deal or not. And so on the front end, before you put any money towards any property, sign any documents, you have to understand mathematically, is this a good deal? And so you should front load your learning to understand that.
Now, I have a guide. I have a guide that teaches people how to underwrite a multifamily commercial deal. I have a guide. If we get, I don't know, maybe 30, let's do 30 shares. If we can get up to 30 shares, I know we're early right now. We only got 11 people on TikTok, but share it twice. If we get up to 30 shares, then I will give you guys that guide for free. And it is a guide that you would have to pay for somewhere else. All right. And we're going to be speaking from that guide through different points of this conversation. So let's talk about understanding the property in the market. And a 10-unit building in a growing city is very different from a 10-unit building in a declining city, even if the numbers look the same. And if you don't understand why, then you could get into some trouble. Okay, so we're going to break that down for you. So when I'm looking at a particular location, now keep in mind, if you guys aren't familiar with the 4 data points, the 4 data points are 4 questions that we ask anytime we are considering a piece of real estate. Those questions are as follows. What does it cost, or what am I willing to pay if it's off market? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? Our first week, James, next time I'm going to ask you to repeat those because you've been rocking with me for enough years. James, what are they? What's the 4 data points?
Come on, man. Number 1, what's it cost? Number 2, what's it cost to fix up? Number 3, what's it cost, or what's it going to be worth when we're done? Number 4, how much money can we make? Come on, man.
I know, man. Look.
You better know it.
Hey, I was on a call with some folks on Monday just before we started our weekly roundup, and it was a couple of people that was on there for a real long time that could not.
Hey, I should flip the script. What are my 7 rules?
That's 7, dog. The reason why I did 4 data points is because I can't remember no more than that.
It's only 7. Okay, what are 4 of the 7?
Knew you were going to say that. All right. I'm going to make database decisions.
All right.
Right.
Number 5.
Processes. You got to have your processes in place.
Okay, process plus behavior equals results. Number 2.
Yeah, I'd say, of course. Don't make emotionally based decisions.
You said that already.
Okay,
Right.
I just rephrased it, didn't I? Business decisions are based on data. Okay, that's what I said. You know what? First of all, I don't know if I like your tone.
Number 1. At least get number 1.
I don't know what your number 1 is.
Start with.
Oh, you start with your Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Oh, your values. Your values.
I didn't know that. I thought that was just something you say.
Nah, you start with your values. He's been saying that for years.
I know, like, a lot of these. I'm thinking this is just something he says all the time, and I'm with him all the time. So I'm like, that's just something James says. But when you told, I didn't know. Can't remember how to organize it into the 7. Look, if I could do that, I'd probably have 7 data points for multifamily or real estate investing. 4 is tops with me. I can remember 4 things, and so can the average person. So the 4 data points is a way to deliver information in a way that's easily received and does not overwhelm the person. But it's so simple. Those 4 questions can protect you, can make sure you don't get into something that you can't get out of. It makes sure you understand certain components about how the data from those questions can help you make informed decisions. For example, if data point number 1 and number 3 are too close together, you know that's not a value add opportunity. You know you're going to leave money into that deal. You know that if you have to leave money into that deal, you have to look at data point number 4 to see if the cash flow that it generates is worth leaving that amount of money into the deal. So the 4 data points academy, the 4 data points is the foundation. And that foundation we build on. And we don't get past those 4 data points. If you understand, James, I know you want to say something. You got that look like you're about to say something, James. That if you can't get past these 4 questions, then you need to stop in your tracks because your risk just increased exponentially. So if people can't understand the 4 data points and what they tell you, we don't move on to the next level until they do. And those 4 data points can be for a single family home. It could be for a 2,000 unit development. Being able to find the answers to those is what is going to help you determine whether it's a good investment for you, not whether it's a good investment, but if it's a good investment for you, because it's not always about good and bad. There are some investments that were not good for me because they just weren't in my buy box at the time, but would have been outstanding for somebody else. And it's up to me to teach people how to tell the difference. Now, when we talk about understanding the property in the market, there's 7. Go ahead, James.
So there's a business term out there. It's complicated business jargon. It goes ready, shoot, aim.
Ready, shoot, aim.
Right. So that's when folks don't know the 4 data points, but they're already investing in property, right? And
Yes.
It happens so many times that folks have already made the decision, oh, I'm going to buy this property, right? And then they come to us and say, hey, help me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You've already made the decision.
Speak on
you
it.
want me to like that puts me in a bad spot because I might hurt your feelings when I'm like, well, it's a terrible deal. Like the advice I'm going to give you is walk away.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's I'm glad that's a valid point. I've had people try to get in our program to help me bail them out of their current situation, and their current situation is a 6-figure loss. So they talking about like $6,000 here. If you can get me out of this, I'll get in your program. I look at their situation and say, look, your situation's no bad. I'm not even going to charge you for a consult. You should. My program is not going to save you. It would have saved you 90 days ago, right? And you said you've been following me for 2.5 years. So you guys have to understand. I've been teaching a lot of these things for free for the last 4 years, James? Mm-hmm. Like 4 years, like multiple times a week for free. So if I'm teaching it and giving all this information away for free, why would somebody pay to be in my program? They could just get all the free stuff. Why have all these people paid to be in it? Because they understand the value of the support. They understand the value of support. And I've had people try to circumvent it, right? Well, I'll just do a consultation every time I need it. And they were underwriting a multifamily commercial deal. I said, we're probably going to be talking 3 and 4 times a week through all of the different phases. That's okay. You can go ahead and put me on retainer. It just doesn't work that way. And I don't want to mislead people into thinking that, we're going to save you or that we can even save you if you're already in a bad situation, right? So I'm glad you brought that up, James, because I do run into that sometimes. But I give away enough information that people actually read it. And I think because it's free, sometimes that people don't really appreciate it until they get their head bumped. And then when they get their head bumped, they want to go back and run it through AI. Hey, can you just give me all the pertinence in this big document that Otis gave us? All right. So the whole point is understanding whether you should buy this thing or not. Whether we're going to focus on multifamily commercial today, but even residential, right? 4 data points helps you determine that. What are the 4 data points? 4 questions that we ask. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? If you cannot find the answers to those 4 questions, you need to stop. If you can find the answers, but they're not favorable, you need to stop. If you don't have enough information to come up with an answer, you need to stop. I had somebody say, hey man, I got your 4 data points guide and but every time I look at a deal, if I keep using these 4 data points, none of them work. I probably looked at like 30 deals. I said, well, the alternative is you don't use it and you get into a deal that's a money pit that you can't get out of. So what would you prefer? That means it's doing its job. All right. What is the cost? What is the cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? Now, this underwriting guide that I'm going to give, we got 30 shares already, or did we get 30 shares? No, we're only at 12. So if we get 30 shares, I'll give this guide away free to you guys. This guide is a very comprehensive document that really outlines the 4 data points. Understand when you're investing in multifamily commercial that it's not just buying the property, but now what? Do you have a screening process in place? Do you have a service request process in place? Do you have payment processing in place? Do you have a communication process in place? Do you have an eviction process in place? Do you have a deposit accounting process in place? Do you have enough experience to be able to anticipate all of the problems that you could happen so you can incorporate specific language in your lease? Folks, I was overseeing 3,000 units at one time. And one of those developments were so overcrowded. I think the total number of tenants was estimated that I was responsible for was estimated between 12 and 14,000 altogether. And that's being very, very conservative. So I've seen it all. I've been in charge of market rent controlled, being below market rate, transitional, mixed you, everything that you can possibly imagine. I've done. So when I'm looking at a particular property, I'm looking at all of those things that can go wrong. So if nothing else, I can incorporate the appropriate language. And if you are buying property that's already occupied, your element of risk goes up significantly if you don't know what you're doing, because you're about to adopt every other problem that last landlord had. And do you understand how to underwrite a property and do enough due diligence so you can iron out all those problems that landlord is hiding from you? Because trust me, when you start getting into multifamily commercial, and I always say this, the government doesn't give you the protections like when you're buying your first home to live in, or the protections just aren't there. The disclosure requirements are not there. So it is buyer beware, do all your due diligence. Now, understand the property market. I got seven things that I look at. What type of, go ahead.
You're probably going to get into this, but one of the things that I see where people get, I don't know if I would say hung up is the right word, but where just maybe there's confusion at play or risk. There's an element of risk because people don't understand as well. Look, real estate is ultimately about its value, right? There's so many things you can do with real estate because of what it's worth, right? So we want to buy it for less than it's worth, make it worth more, all that sort of stuff. But I think when it comes to multifamily, that part is difficult. Like even on the front end, I see so many people when they're trying to figure out if they're going to buy a particular multifamily property.
Wait, hold on, Jim. Hold on, just pause 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So I see people using all the traditional methods that they're accustomed to when they're going to go buy a home or call a realtor or whatever to figure out how much a property is worth. So can you talk a little bit about why there's a lot of pitfalls in doing that?
Yeah. So, hold on 1 second here. All right, hold on 1 second. bring you down just a little bit, James. So yeah. So you said why they just, go by a realtor and don't do all the due diligence? Is that what? Sorry, I was fixing your sound when you were.
No, really, it's about the value. I'm really can you just kind of explain why understanding the value is really important in multifamily, how to get the value, and why not just going on Zillow to try to find the value is just not going to work.
For sure.
Oh yeah, because you got to know what you're getting, and you got to understand whether if you don't know what you're getting, then you're going to get ripped off. It's plain to see, right? Plain to see. And I see this most of the time. I see this when residential agents are representing multifamily commercial assets. Like somebody will have, a 8-unit apartment building, and they have their friend that's a real estate agent, and the average person doesn't make the correlation between residential agents and commercial agents. Now I know residential agents that don't do commercial, but they're well versed in multifamily commercial because probably because they took my course. I don't do courses, probably because they're under my mentorship. So I'm not talking about those folks. So what happens is if you don't understand how multifamily commercial is valued relative to residential, then you don't understand all the benefits of owning multifamily commercial. If you don't understand the benefits, then you're not going to be able to adjust your price, your offer price, in appreciation of those benefits, right? So give you an example. There's 2 properties, right? One's a 6-unit, one's a 4-unit. Okay. The 4-unit generates more income per month than the 6-unit. Okay. More income per month than the 6-unit. So and they are roughly about the same price. Now, again, if we get 30 shares, I'm going to give you guys this multifamily guide to underwriting. I think we're at 12, so some of y'all may have to do it twice. Now, so if you have 2 properties that are relatively the same price and one property generates more income per month, the person that doesn't understand, which is the 4-unit, the person that doesn't understand is going to choose the 4-unit because any reasonable person, based on the information they have at the time, that's a good buy. Now, if you don't understand multifamily commercial, then you don't understand, okay, that generates more income per month, but this multifamily commercial building, when examining the rents, there's room to bring those rents up to market. And when I bring those rents up to market, that's going to bring the value of the building up as long as I don't incur any additional expenses. So all things being the same, expenses, if rents go up, the value of the building goes up because my net operating income goes up. Now, when I manage rents over time, let's say 3% year over year for annual increases, 3 to 5%, that building is just going to keep going up in value over time. Now, it doesn't matter that the building next door sold for less because multifamily commercial is valued based on the income that it generates, not what comparable sales are on record. That 4-unit building may be generating more money per month in the beginning, but what happens when the 4-unit building down the street sells for less? The value of that building goes down. And if the value of that building goes down and I'm solely relying on the cash flow from that building, well, long term, then that may be fine. But the road to wealth goes through being able to leverage assets to buy more cash flowing assets. If the building value is going down, I can't pull money out of it to go buy another cash flowing asset. But on the multifamily commercial side, I can look at the rents. I can see what the rent potential is. I can do diligence on the expenses, and I can come up with a net operating income, current, and for my projections. And then I can pull money out of that building to buy more cash flowing assets. I can also add more revenue streams to the multifamily commercial building. Now, you guys on TikTok, I'm going to invite a bunch of you guys up. You don't have to come, but I'm not really, if you guys want to ask questions, just go ahead and you can go ahead and just do it. And I'm only doing that because if you guys ask to come up, I can't really see it. So feel free to just decline if you want to. I'm just giving you guys the opportunity. All right. So, okay, we got some people. So bear with me. What's up, Ray? And what's up, Shay? All right. So we're still at 12 shares. So I'll give this a multifamily commercial investing guide once we get up to 30 shares. So my point is, once you understand how to underwrite multifamily commercial, you can understand all of the benefits. Now, let's take that same 4-unit building and let's take that same 6-unit multifamily commercial building. Now, there you can add different revenue streams. Now, you can add revenue streams to the multifamily commercial industry building, and those revenue streams are going to contribute to the value of the building. You can add the same revenue streams to the 4-unit building, but it's not going to contribute to the value of the building. It'll increase your cash flow, but I need these assets to go up in value so I can leverage them to buy more cash flowing assets. Now, that's my strategy most of the time. It's not the only one. Other people may have a different agenda. So I'm not saying anyone is wrong or right or whatever, but I'm saying that's the thought process that you have to have. Now, let's say I charge for additional parking on the 6-unit. That contributes to my net operating income, increases the value of the building. Let's say I bill back for renter's insurance and then mark it up. Maybe I get a master plan and then bill back everybody for a portion of that. That contributes to the value of the building. Let's say I have certain policies that I have. Let's say you've been in one of my units for 2 years and then I renovate another unit and you want to move into that unit. Well, that's a resident transfer fee. I'll do the deposit accounting on your old one. You got to put a deposit on the new one. And the fee on top of that is going to go towards my net operating income, increasing the value of the building. Let's say I've got 50 units and the telecom company comes in and says, we want to be your exclusive provider. I say, okay, well, let's show me a telecom share agreement, revenue share agreement. That contributes to the value of the building. None of those things contribute to the value of a residential building. So Fox says, my signal is poor where I'm at. Okay, all good. So that's part of the knowledge. Now, understanding the market means first you got to understand what type of building that you're dealing with. All right. And Tavares, you know these different types of building. When I say that, I mean, is it a garden style building, which is more spread out? Is it a mid-rise, which is, obviously multiple levels? Is it a walk up? Because there's certain things, if I have a building that's a 6-floor building, well, I know that I'm probably going to have an elevator. And if I don't have an elevator, that is going to diminish the market value, not appraised value, the market value possibly, because it's less desirable. I'm not walking up 6 flights of stairs with groceries. All right. And if I do have an elevator, then I've got to configure elevator maintenance into my projections. Right. But if I don't do that, then I'm going to get hurt at some point financially. One, because I didn't plan for it. One, because I didn't plan for the additional expense, or I didn't plan for people not wanting to move there because I didn't have the elevator. Amen. How many units? Well, how many units matters. Just because you can get 60 units does not mean that it is a good situation. All right. I think James fell off. Where James go? James fell off the. He got that. The
stream. I'm trying to log back in.
Oh, okay. You still got the link for the.
Yeah, I do.
All right. So how many units? Just because you can get a lot of units for cheap does not mean it's a good investment. Guess what? More units, more insurance, more maintenance, and higher vacancy. You have to continue to manage more units, which means you have to have more of a staff. So it's going to be a higher management expense. So you have to understand how to look at all the balances, or how to look at the balance, because every good thing that happens in multifamily commercial is offset by a bad thing. And every bad thing could be offset by a good thing, but it's my job to teach people how to make the distinction. All right. Now, what condition is it in? Now, when I look at what condition it's in, I want the bones and the 5 major systems to be operational. The bones of the 5 major systems are foundation, roof, HVAC, we'll call that heating and air, electrical and plumbing. If those things are operational, a lot of the other stuff is just cosmetic, and I feel a lot more confident about it. But if somebody is not experienced in doing these types of projects, I'm a value add investor, which means I like to buy something and make it worth more than I bought it for. And Tavares, you've experienced this because you had to work with a lot of different vendors in the multifamily commercial industry.
Yeah, on a regular basis.
Yeah, so you understand all of the. Hey James, I tried to bring you up, brother. I don't know if you're Dr. James. There he is. He's about okay. We'll see if we can go. So if you don't know if you don't have experience doing the value add component of some of these things, then you may have and this is a mistake I see all of the time. People get into these projects for cheap. They bring in third party financing to do the rehab, and then they go and get the permits to get signed off. And they realize that they didn't incorporate all the life and safety issues. That means fire doors. That means an alarm monitoring system. That means a fire suppression system. All of these things they didn't incorporate because they didn't see a need for it. But they didn't realize once you improve a property past a certain threshold, that triggers the requirement to bring everything up to current code. And now they're in something they can't get out of because they can't exit out of it, and they can't get the funds because they didn't qualify for all those funds for the additional. They already solidified their budget with the lender. So what happens? They better get those funds somewhere else. And if they can't get them somewhere else, I've seen them have to bankrupt that entity. I've seen it. All right. Now, let me see. After 1 hour from if you want to continue streaming on Instagram, you can remove this notification from stream and re-add it. All right. So since Instagram is doing that, let me go ahead and make that adjustment real quick, if you guys don't mind. What's going on, Dr. James?
Not much. I just wanted to come up here. Yesterday was a great talk. After we left, 4 fake accounts for Dwayne contacted me and tried to become my friend. I've seen Anthony Glenn's account get spooked, but I've never seen somebody do 4 different accounts, and they all want me to do Bitcoin and everything else.
Yes, folks, I don't do Bitcoin or none of that. So if you don't actually see my face like this moving in your face, then don't. I probably shouldn't have said that. Was probably the wrong way to say it. You guys know what I mean.
James, I actually experienced the same thing yesterday. D Will's page came up on my feed, and then of course in my inbox. And just like you mentioned, I had 3 accounts that I thought was him reach out to me. And interesting enough, I actually responded to one of them, but I'm not even sure. I think one of them was really him, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw he was on live yesterday. I tried to go in and let him know, but he had 400 and some people in his live, and so any comment I would made would have got, covered up with everybody else's. So I don't know who's got him as a good friend, but just let him know that, and he may already know, but there are 4 different spoofers out there.
Wow,
that's how you know you're doing big things.
You can tell which one is his, Tavares, because he has over 100,000 followers. So the other ones don't.
Okay, I thought he had about that much because the other ones had 7,000. I saw another one for 11,000, another one with 3,000. So, okay, that's what's up. So I guess I have to find the right one. Yeah.
Scam artists, man. If you're going to scam, don't sell crypto. I don't I don't even entertain legitimate people selling crypto. That's kind of a telltale sign. But anyway, to each their own. I'm sure he's protected.
Oh, hey, thanks, Fox Racer. Yeah, he says he does know. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and drop down. I just wanted to get the PSA out there.
Right on, man. Right on.
Thanks, Dr. James.
I don't have no well, I guess because my account is pretty new. I only got 400 followers, so I'm probably not worth spoofing at this point. But let me bring James back up here. But but they did my other Instagram account. They had they put in work. They put in work too. I had all the good pictures up there. I was like, okay, they got me from a few years ago. I didn't put on a couple pounds, but all right.
You crazy.
Shout out to everybody taking them AI headshots. The AI, look, it spits out about 40 of them. About 34 of them made me feel worse about myself. I was like, I gotta work out so I can keep up with this fool. This brother right here, that brother's clean right there. I'm not using that one. You ain't gonna accuse me of catfishing. All right. All right. So when we're looking at the market, I look at what type of property it is, like garden style, mid-rise, walk up. I look at how many units in the unit mix, because what I'll do is, let's say I've got 15 1 bedrooms, 15 2 bedrooms, 15 3 bedrooms. I have to do a market survey for each unit type so I can get my projections right. I look at what condition it's in. I was just talking about how I want the basic systems functional so that I can get a better understanding and really dial in what my rehab cost is going to be. The major ones are foundation, roof, electrical, plumbing, and heating and air. We'll call that HVAC. What are the comparable rents in the area? I do that I do that regardless. And I even do that for residential, right? I do that for everything because it's one of the 4 data points. How much income can it generate?
Yeah.
Why is that important to know? We need to know if it'll generate enough income to service the debt against it, whether it's multifamily commercial or residential. Right? Are there any major employers nearby? Now, people, if there is a major employer nearby, that's not always kind of the saving grace for me. And I get a lot of people that say, hey, did you hear, Amazon is bringing a new fulfillment center there was a rumor that they were coming to South San Jose some years ago. And so I was in the middle of some investing conversations and people were getting excited about that. I said, all right, well, they didn't pull the permits yet. So it's just a rumor. So we shouldn't be doing anything now. And how much money does an Amazon fulfillment center worker make? At the time, it was $22 to $27 an hour because that research you can find. And what is the average home price in South San Jose? It's over $1 million, right?
Easy.
Right now, for a decent house, you're probably looking at 1.4 million.
Easy.
Right? None of them can afford it anyway. They could have 10 Amazon fulfillment centers there. The only impact that's going to have to the economy is creating a bunch more consumers. It's not creating homeowners. And if you have a multifamily commercial situation, you've got to have high enough rent to be able to service the debt against it, which is why a 2-bedroom in South San Jose will run you $3,500 a month.
It'll create some traffic.
Some traffic.
People got to drive out to the suburbs where they live.
Yeah, you'd do better setting up one of them hot dog carts in front of the fulfillment center on lunchtime. You'd make more money doing that. But just because they're coming there and it's a really big company, it's not always something to get excited about. But I do look at what employers are coming in particular areas if I have more units that I have to fill, because vacancy loss is a significant expense. So if I have more units that I got to fill, and so far as you used to have to do this, you had to account and come up with a marketing plan every time a unit was vacant for an extended period of time. So imagine if you have 20 of those vacant, right? So I'm looking to see where a city's going, right? Versus, the trajectory, right? The trajectory. I want a city with an upward trajectory and not a downward trajectory, okay? Even if the numbers are identical. So those are some of the things that I look at. I look at the vacancy rate in a particular city. That information is not always readily available, but I have a lot of people in the multifamily commercial industry that are friends that'll send me reports. I'm not going to say any of their names because those reports are expensive. And they're probably not supposed to be sending them to me. But now, since we're talking about multifamily commercial, let's get an understanding of the financials. The finance. A multifamily commercial property, 5 units and up, what documents are you asking for on the offer? I have a set of documents that I ask for that are pretty standard with all multifamily commercial investors. I have a secondary set of documents that I ask for before I can start the due diligence phase. Now, a rent roll, that's day one, right? You want a rent roll. It's a unit by unit list of tenants, lease terms, and rental amounts. Some of them will have move-in dates. Some of them will have deposit amounts. But that is a requirement. Not only do I want a rent roll, I am physically going to look at every actual lease agreement. Every lease agreement. So if you're buying a 60-unit apartment building, you better be ready to look at 60 different files. And you better know what you're looking for, right? Or that can cost you a significant amount of money. Why? Oh, let me explain. And this is where experience comes in. If a property is valued based on the income that it generates, then you want to generate as much income as possible before you sell it. Many landlords lose discretion, right? They don't get too concerned about how qualified people are when they're just trying to fill the building up. They just want to be able to say, hey, it's 90% occupied. Still leaves you 10%. There's still some meat on the bone. There's still some rents. You can do increases. They try to present it that way. So I'm going to look at every file and I want to look at their screening process, how and when these folks were screened. I'm going to look at when the leases started and look at when the applications were dated, because I'm going to start looking for inconsistencies that way. I'm also going to look at another document called a trailing 12. It's a 12-month breakdown of all the income and all the expenses. All the income and all the expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you say your property has been 90% occupied for the past 6 months, and then I pull up that trailing 12 and I see, let's say 6 months ago, let's say it was October, I'm going to look at the amount of income that you have for October. And if it isn't matching that occupancy, busted. All right.
Yeah.
But if you don't know to look at that and look for that within the document and cross-reference it with the rent roll, then you could get the wool pulled over your eyes. And by the way, folks, there are some sharks out there. I'm telling you, it'll make you want to fight. All right. Now, I'll say it again. If I get 30 shares, I'm going to give this guide away. It teaches you how to underwrite a multifamily commercial deal. And I am leveraging my experience. I was in the multifamily commercial industry, for those who don't know that just joined, for the better part of 20 years. I was overseeing $650 million in multifamily commercial assets across multiple developments here in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is one of the hardest places in the country to be a landlord. So I do leverage my experience on the operation side with my experience as a real estate investor. Very few people that teach this stuff have done both. All right. Now, the rent roll, a unit by unit list of tenants, lease terms, and rental amounts. The trailing 12 is another document. It's a 12-month breakdown of income and expenses. They call it a trailing 12 because it's the most recent 12 months. It's not the last calendar year. Okay. So you want the most recent 12 months. Operating expense report is a detailed list of ongoing expenses. Now, we talk about more units versus just a few units. So when I was looking at a 6-unit property, there was about 5 line items for expenses. When I was overseeing a 2,200 unit property, there was over 160 line items for expenses. Okay. So just understand, the more units, the more due diligence. All right. The fourth document, capital expenditures, past or upcoming big ticket improvements. Now, when somebody is buying their first multifamily commercial building, let's say it's a 10-unit building, they're not going to know any of this stuff. Even if I've trained them, even if they've sat through 7-8 weeks of multifamily commercial fundamentals, they're not going to feel like a real estate investor after that. And I don't expect them to. I already know I'm going to have to support them from start all the way to finish until that property is stabilized. That means I'm going to have to coach them through the acquisition, and then I'm going to have to coach them in the implementation of all the systems you need to operate that subject property, right? Which is screening, all of the things that a management company would do, because it's great to go ahead and hand it off to a management company and be hands off and just pay the fees. But if you don't know how to manage it yourself first, you don't know how to coach them and manage the managed company. And nobody wants your property to do better than you do. Okay? Right. And I've had to fire some management companies. I've had to, I'm not even going to get into that. Man, I had one company.
Loose.
What's that?
So you got to cut them loose.
I did. I had one company. This wasn't for the multifamily. This is just a house, one of the one-offs that I had out in Michigan. And it was vacant for like a long time, but it didn't really show up on my financials. Like, it wasn't a big blip on my radar, right? So finally, I should never say this when it's my own property. I said, whatever happened to that house on such and such. So I wouldn't open up the file. I was like, I don't remember getting any checks from this house. So I went and looked into it, and it's been sitting vacant. So I called the management company. I said, what's the deal with this? They said, oh, we couldn't rent it at the $1,125 that you wanted. I said, well, so what was the plan? What were you going to, so reduce the rent? Oh, well, we didn't want to do that because, we didn't want some of our owners get upset when we reduce the rent. When I tell you I almost lost so I said, so you let me lose 8 months. You let me realize 8 months of vacancy loss because you don't want to. Okay. So I had to train this young lady
Wow.
On the spot. I had to train this young lady. And we talked about the 4 Ps. Now, this is industry standard in the multifamily commercial industry. And folks, I've worked for the largest multifamily operators on the planet. The 4 Ps are 4 things that you have to address when your property can't rent. They can go in any order, but the last P, price, always has to be last. Product, promotion, price is last. Wait, product, and person. I was like, well, I forgot. Product, promotion, person, price. The product, is it show ready? My unit was. I had it turned. Promotion, is it being promoted to where people can see it? It wasn't. Person, is the person doing what they're supposed to be doing? Who's responsible for managing it? Are they putting it on the different platforms? Are they setting appointments? Are they following up with people? All of those things. The reason why price always comes last is because 9 times out of 10, if you've addressed the first 3 items, you don't have to touch the price. So I said, all right, look, drop it $25 and then put it on Craigslist. And I'll go ahead and draft the language for you and I'll give you the pictures. We'll put it on Craigslist. I'll put you as a primary contact, obviously. It was rented in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Because Craigslist, they didn't do enough due diligence to see what the biggest lead sources were. On the West Coast, Craigslist was the #1 lead source for rentals. And you know this, Tavares, most of the big operating companies, multifamily commercial companies, require people to post on Craigslist vacant units multiple times a day, to the point where it becomes a performance issue.
Yep, sure do.
So anyway, so sometimes you got to train your management company. You got to know what you're doing. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you can just have this guide in front of you. I have another guide called Landlord Launchpad. It is a curriculum within our curriculum that is just dedicated to operations side of owning real estate, single family, up to multifamily commercial. Now, those are the 4 documents: rent roll, trailing 12, operating expense report, capital expenditures. There are some other things that I do when it's a larger building and there's a management company. I want to know what operating software that they use to be landlords, so I can look at the capabilities and then I can get all the resident correspondence. All right. Is that my daughter right there? That's my daughter right there on Facebook. I don't know if you can see it. That's my kiddo. Where's she at? There you go, sweetheart. Look at you. All right. All right. I'm going to leave that up there too. All right. So those are the 4 documents. I look for other documents. I also look for patterns. If I look at your landlord software and I know what reports I can pull, and I can look at all the service requests and what those service requests were, I'm looking for patterns. If the electrical box kept tripping, if it's tripped multiple times, I know that there's one of 2 things wrong. There's a load issue there. So those may need to be upgraded, or there's an occupancy issue there. And you've got too many appliances plugged into, those loads, and it's a fire hazard. So then I got to go back to the leases and see what occupancy standards are in the lease. See, most people don't look at that stuff because people don't teach you that, because people weren't on the operation side of multifamily commercial. They were on the acquisition side. They teach you how to buy it, get it leased up, and then exit. And maybe that's all you want. But long term, I got to be able to manage and vet everybody that I'm involved with. All right. Now, what are the other documents? I have a list of the additional documents I request. Property management agreement, service contracts, trash, landscaping, pest control, HVAC, laundry machines, if that's there, utility bills, water, sewer, gas, electric, if the owner pays them, the real estate tax bill, most recent year, insurance declaration page, capital expenditures log. So those are repairs and upgrades over the past 5 years, major ones. Now, I'll get into that next. Tavares, don't let me forget about CapEx, capital expenditure. I'm going to talk about that.
Got it, brother.
All right. Maintenance work orders, occupancy reports for the last 12 months, bank statements to verify income if financials aren't very clear, environmental reports, phase 1 or phase 2 previously conducted, appraisal, if available, a survey, title report, preliminary title report. They're not going to have that. I can get that from the title company. Leases, I already talked about lease files. Move-in condition reports, the move-in, move-out statements. Eviction history or notices issued. Deferred maintenance list. They never have that because that's not something they want to share. City violations, I can get that from the building department. Code enforcement notices. By the way, when you guys are looking for deals, go to code enforcement and get the naughty list. There's a lot of people on there that don't want to be landlords anymore. Permits and inspection history. Now, I can go to different places to get a lot of these documents. Most owners, especially mom and pops, they're not going to have 80% of this stuff. They're just not. Okay. But I'm going to request it anyway. And when I do request it in my offer, I'm going to say the inspection period. Did we get 38? Oh, we got 38 shares already.
We got 38 shares.
Somebody really wanted it because I think one of y'all shared it about 20 times. All right. All right. So if you can see the phone number on the top of my head, text, send me the guide, or just text for data, or just text guide. I'll know what it is. And then I will send you a link to get in our system, and I can assign you that guide and another guide that I think you'll be interested in. I'm going to put that number in Instagram so you can text. And, I think did I just mess that up? No. Okay. Oh, post. All right. So you can text that number and I'll get you the guide. All right. If you are going to be a landlord or you're going to buy anything 5 units and up, have this guide in front of you. Don't try to go about it. I'm telling you, look, the multifamily commercial space, especially as investors, it's a big Shark Tank. It's a big Shark Tank. So don't try to do this and just, All right. Now that we know all the documentation that we need to request and why, how do we calculate net operating income? Net operating income, as we talked about yesterday on the Winning Real Estate podcast with Anthony Glenn, it is the effective gross income minus operating expenses. So what you gross minus what you have to pay out, right? Expenses include property taxes, insurance, utilities if paid by the owner, repairs and maintenance, property management fees, admin costs, and reserves for replacements. Typically, $250 to $300 a unit. But, if it's only a 6-unit building, I typically don't keep a lot of reserves. I just keep an Amex or Chase Sapphire, right? So that is the formula. Your effective gross income minus operating expenses. So what we do is we say GPR, your gross potential rent. You got to understand what gross potential rent means. Minus versus actual potential rent. So you have gross potential rent. That is your line item. Gross potential rent means at 100% occupancy at current market rate. That means all units leased at current market rate. That is your gross potential rent. Then you back out some line items. For example, most people in the real estate investing space with multifamily commercial aren't familiar with what we call loss to lease. Those of you that have ever managed in the multifamily commercial industry, you know what loss to lease is. Loss to lease is the difference between your in-place rent and the higher current market rent. So if 1 bedrooms in your market are going for $1,000 a month and you have units, 1 bedrooms that are leased at $800 a month, you are realizing a $200 a month loss to lease, right? And then you have some other things that you back out of their vacancy loss and, a couple other things that I won't get into. But then you get to actual potential rent, okay? Now, when you are calculating all your expenses, and I just named a bunch of different, the typical expenses, that's the formula, okay? So you start with gross potential rent, what the property would earn if fully occupied at market rent. You subtract estimated vacancy and collection loss, typically 5 to 10%. And then you subtract property taxes, insurance, utilities, repairs and maintenance, property management fees, admin costs, and reserves if you're keeping reserves. The result is your full net operating income, NOI. How do you value a property? The net operating income divided by the cap rate. I'm going to get into that in a second. The net operating income divided by the cap rate. If I got a 10-unit building and it makes $3,000 a month, that's $36,000 a year gross. If I back out 20% for expenses, my net operating income is $28,800. If the cap rate in the area is 6.5%, $28,800 divided by 0.065 is $443,077. That's how I just determined the value of the building. So for negotiating purposes, that's what I'm going to use. Now, please don't think I'm good at math. I just use that same example every time. So I just memorize the answers. I still need 6 credits to graduate junior college. I may go back one day. All right. Keeping it real with y'all. One of the most common mistakes, now I'm reading from my guide. One of the most common mistakes new investors make is including costs that don't belong in the NOI calculation, net operating income calculation. Remember, net operating income only reflects the property's performance before financing and taxes, not your personal expenses, not capital improvement, and definitely not debt service, like your mortgage against it. Right? Items like mortgage payment, income taxes, acquisition fees, or large one-time renovation costs should never be included in operating expenses when calculating NOI. That means your rehab. Including them can distort the true income picture and lead you to overvalue or undervalue a deal. Stick to property level recurring operational costs only. Now, for those wanting to get into real estate investing, you got to understand the difference between a capital expense and repairs and maintenance. So when you get into the multifamily commercial industry and you start talking with asset managers who represent the ownership groups, they will make determinations of what goes above the line, repair and maintenance, and what goes below the line, capital improvements. Why does it matter? Anything above the line impacts the value of the building, impacts your net operating income. Anything below the line, I just feel like some sound. Tavares, could you still hear me all right?
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Anything below the line impacts the original cost basis of the property. Now, I'm not a CPA. This is just common knowledge. I'm not giving tax advice. If you have any tax questions, talk to a qualified professional. I am not one of them. When I have tax questions, I talk to my CPA and I talk to my tax attorney. All right. I'm telling you to do the same, but this is common knowledge. You can just get it off the IRS website. If I have a property that I bought for $400,000 and then I sell it for $500,000, I got to pay taxes on the $100,000 I made. Now, in that time, if I add in a $30,000 pool, which is considered a capital improvement, and I sell the property for $500,000, I only got to pay taxes on $70,000 because there's a step up in cost basis from $400,000 to $430,000 because I have that capital improvement. Okay. Now, until that changes, that's the way it is. Please don't take my word for it. Always talk to a qualified professional. Now, any questions anywhere from anybody about anything in the world?
No questions on my end. Let me see. Let's check over here on Instagram. No questions right now on my end.
All right.
How about you, James?
All right. So a lot of this stuff is going into, I think James is good. A lot of the stuff is going into, he would have said something. A lot of this stuff is coming straight from my guide, right? Straight from my guide, how to underwrite multifamily commercial. Okay. Now, cap rates. A cap rate is the relationship between a building's net operating income and its market value. If a building sold for $300,000 and it had a net operating income of $30,000, 30,000 divided by 300,000 is 10%. That's the cap rate. Okay. So value of the building equals net operating income divided by the cap rate. When my net operating income was $28,800 divided by 6.5% or 0.065 when you convert it, $443,077. Easy peasy. I've got spreadsheets and tools, so I don't have to do this math. If I don't have a calculator and I don't have no tools and I got to work this out on paper, I go all the way back to special needs. Let me see. Carry the one. Remember, you used to get mad when they asked you to do something on the board, you couldn't do it. You start flipping over tables. All right. Cap rates vary by market, asset class, and condition.
Otis.
Yeah.
We do have a question from C-Suite.
What up, C-Suite?
What's up, C-Suite over here on TikTok? Can cap rate be used for SFR rentals?
Single family home rentals? They can, but they're useless because those assets are valued based on what similar assets are selling for. So, I mean, they're not necessary, right? You're typically looking at cash flow, but you can find the cap rate. So if you buy a house for $300,000 and you're making, you're netting $30,000 a year, that's a 10% cap, but that information's not going to really do much good with respect to establishing value. It's primary for multifamily commercial or commercial in general because they're valued based on their financials, whereas residential 1 to 4 unit is not. All right. Higher cap rates versus lower cap rates.
CapEx.
Oh,
Don't forget
CapEx.
about CapEx.
Yeah, so CapEx is the swimming pool example I gave you. That impacts the cost basis, which is tax term, right? Non-CapEx, which is basically repairs and maintenance, impacts your net operating income. All right. So where you book that matters. So if we had to replace a roof and it was $100,000 in one of these developments I was overseeing. Now that's $100,000 expense. If we booked it and it's a capital improvement, capital expense, if we had to put it above the line in repair and maintenance, that's going to kill our net operating income for that property. But luckily we didn't because it was capital. We put it below the line. So if we sell the building, we realize the value and the step up in cost basis. We don't have to get into that. I'll typically walk all my students through that as it happens. So it's not, they don't have to worry about it. Now, higher cap rate versus a lower cap rate, because the question always comes up, is it better to have a higher cap rate or better to have a lower cap rate? Well, the correct answer is it depends. Just like everything. It's so nuanced, right? Because you got to look at everything. There's one thing may offset something else. And, so I'll give you, I'm going to go straight to the guide. Whether a higher or lower cap rate is better depends on your investment goals and the context of the market. Context matters. A lower cap rate usually means you're buying in a more competitive, stable, and desirable market, but you're paying more per dollar of income. A higher cap rate typically reflects higher risk, such as in rural areas or with distressed properties, but it also means you're getting more income for a lower purchase price. So in short, I'll sum it up. Lower cap rate equals higher price, lower risk, often lower return. Higher cap rate equals lower price, higher risk, potentially higher return. Right? I like to rely on cash flow and do a cash flow analysis just to make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, especially with my students. Cap rates can be manipulated, by the way. They can be manipulated for things like deferred maintenance.
Yep.
Right? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and call a plumber out to snake these drains, when there's a problem because I don't want to pay for a $25,000 mainline building replacement or to repair, right? If you replace it, conversations matter too, right? Yeah. How we book these items, a repair versus a replacement makes a difference. If you're just repairing it, it's repair and maintenance. If you're replacing it, in many cases, that could be capital. So make sure you talk to the people with the credentials, right? All right. Any questions?
None at the moment.
Look, multifamily commercial can be dry, and learning it, that's why we only focus on the fundamentals, because learning it, you just need to understand the basics. And I want to put people in a position so when they come to me, they've already ran the basics, and then we can just go over, all of the other stuff, all the nuanced stuff. Okay. But nobody knows how to do this, starting off. That's when I look at a lot of these people selling these things, teaching you multifamily commercial. One of the things I heard a very prominent person say, I don't think this is a bad person. I think I haven't had any bad interactions with this person. But I'm not going to say their name out of respect. They say, look, if I could have done it all over again, I would have started with 1,000 units. No, you wouldn't, because you would have started with 1,000 units, right? Hindsight is 2020. If I could have started all over again, I'd have started with everything I got too. Doesn't work like that, folks. Doesn't work like that. This is not a get rich quick scheme. Mentorship, I take it very seriously. It's not, how much money can I make in the shortest amount of time? It's how can we provide a situation for ourselves to where we can take care of our families past the time that we're healthy enough to be active, right? So I teach people how to make money the fast way and the slow way, but more consistent way. If I need an influx of cash, I'll put some people together. We'll just go flip a house. And then I'll take the funds from there, put it into another cash flowing asset, and I'll do that. For me, I've got to get very particular at how I invest because I spend 70% of my time mentoring people. So the 30% of my time investing, it needs to matter. Otherwise, there's other people in our group that mentor people and that, support me, but otherwise it can be, it can become an issue, and it's come back to bite me before. All right. All right. Debt service, understanding debt service. What does that mean? That just means the debt you have on the property. There's four definitions you should probably know. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but I'll get into them. Loan to value. How much will the lender cover? All right. Loan to value is the loan relative to the value of the asset. Loan to purchase is the loan relative to the purchase. Means the same thing as loan to value, but you're purchasing it.
Oh, shoot.
That's all right. You could, it's all good, Tavares.
My bad.
It's all good. It's all good. Amortization. Most loans are amortized over 25 to 30 years. That's just your payment schedule. Right. Interest rate, you should know what that is. Debt service is your monthly mortgage payment. DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. That's where people get sold a dream on these DSCR loans. So debt service coverage ratio basically says we'll qualify you based on the rental income. If your debt service coverage ratio is 1.25, that means the rents have to equal 125% of your monthly obligation on the property. Period. The rents have to equal 125% of your monthly obligation on the property. Well, people get excited about that because if they meet the rental threshold, they think they're good to go. And they are not good to go because you still got to come up with a down payment. Okay. So debt service coverage doesn't mean it's 100% financed. So understand. All right. All right. Tavares, I'm gonna mute you on there you go. I'm gonna mute you on one of them. But okay, I think you already did it.
Yeah. I'm already did it.
Okay. All right. So I think you were better on TikTok. Go ahead and unmute on TikTok, and then I'm gonna mute you here. I think you had better sound that way.
All right. Can you hear me on TikTok?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for your. Where's James at?
I don't know.
He just dipped.
He just
Bye, James.
he know we gonna go in on him every time he leave.
He just took off.
We start going in on him. He has a fitting.
A fitting?
An outfit fitting.
And for what?
He's a part of the His and His figure skating team for Columbia.
That sequence.
The sequence, yeah. Right. The one that button in the middle between the legs.
That sequence romper. You get that sequence romper. It's important to get that right. Got to get them tassels right.
Yeah, if you guys want to see James figure skating, you can just go to 2dudeskating at .com.
2dudeskating.com. Oh my goodness.
They got their own sports channel. It's called Extreme Eye Contact. So you guys could just
Extreme Eye Contact.
All right. Let's get back to it. We've been friends for over 35 years, folks. So we can do that. James will be talking about me just as bad too. So I don't want to get all those sympathy James messages that y'all be giving to me. All right. Understanding your cash flow. So once you subtracted debt service from your NOI, then you get the cash flow. So basically all the income you make versus everything you got to pay out, the delta or the difference is your cash flow. It's pretty much common sense. All right. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Exit strategy. You got to have an exit strategy. You got to be able to project how are you going to exit out of some of these projects. Let me see. I'll go ahead and invite some of you got TikTok folks up. Okay. I didn't always see the invites. All right.
What's that?
There we go. James did James leave on TikTok? Okay.
I don't know where he's at, but
he came back. I saw him. He came back. He I heard that little figure skate. I use the same joke every single time, so it's not really. You done heard it many times. All right. If you guys don't want to come up, no worries. I'm just inviting folks.
We're also still on Facebook, right?
Yeah. I'm on Facebook. All right. You gotta have an exit strategy. Now, this is very important. What are you going to do with the property? Are you going to keep it long term? Are you going to keep it mid-term, 2 to 5 years, and then exit? Or are you going to flip it? You got to understand what works and why, right? So many investors seek value add deals, properties that are underperforming and can be improved to increase net operating income. Why do we say improve to increase net operating income? Because improved net operating income increases the value of the building. So you may find a building where the units are rented below market, right? Mom and pops, I see that all the time. Well, they're good tenants, so I didn't want to raise the rents. Oh, okay. Yeah, we definitely not going to be eating at the same table. High expenses due to mismanagement. Deferred maintenance that I could come in and correct. Adding amenities or charging for utilities. That's a simple thing, right? All of these things can contribute to the building's net operating income. The goal, increase NOI, raise property value, build equity. That's my goal. Now, if I'm flipping one of these things, the goal is this. It changes. It kind of changes. I want to get all the money that I put into it back out, still own the asset, and just take a loan against it to buy another cash flowing asset, because loans aren't taxed. It's not a taxable event. And I get offended when they want me to pay taxes. I still pay them for anybody on the IRS that happens to be, or NSA tapping in. All right. I'm all for paying any taxes that are owed. All right. So we got to plan an exit strategy. That has a lot to do with projections and making sure that if it's going to be longer term, that you have systems in place to be able to maintain your value. And if you have somebody managing the property, make sure you know how to manage it yourself. That doesn't mean you have to. You just need to know how to vet their systems and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. Value add, whether it's multifamily commercial or residential, means we buy something, make it worth more than we bought it for, and then we exit. Exit is selling it outright or taking a loan against it, getting all our money that we put in back, plus some change, hopefully, and then buying another cash flowing asset with the money that we made. Now, any questions about that? This guide, I will give you this guide if you text that number above my head. That number is...
Text the number, everybody. Text the number. Get the guide. Get the free guide. Text the number. It's a lot of information. It's a wealth of knowledge. Make sure you text the number. Otis, what's the number? Oh, the number there it is. 712-710-8030.
There you go. And on Instagram, that's right. There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Is that? I don't know where this comment posts, but I'm going to post this right here. Hold on. Let me see.
What's that?
I don't know. I'm about to find out. The heck was that? Somebody moving furniture?
Creaking furniture. He said, what was that?
My little man, bless him. He's he's still doing the potty training thing and getting familiar with all the gases that come out of him. And I try to tell him, I'm like, look, man, you can use the back. That's just when you poop, that's just a turd putting on the brakes. And
man,
he just be so excited when because he's like, yeah, I'm ready. I was in my office one time and I heard something out there. I was like, did a truck driver come through here? And I was like, dude,
oh man,
you're just a wonderful flesh of gas. All right. All right. So so 4 Data Points Academy, we know it was built out of necessity. It was built to create real estate investors, though we are expanding into personal development. Don't worry, I'm not going to be the one leading it. We are going to be expanding into the business acumen side of things. I'm not going to be directly leading that either. But why do people come to us for real estate investing? We have no end date. So we don't put a timer on your success. Whether it takes you 3 months or 3 years, we're in it for the long haul. We stay in the fight. So you'll never be cut off from guidance, resources, or mentorship. We understand that there's going to be things that you don't experience probably a year or 2 years in. So I'm always going to create a space for you to come back and get the knowledge, mentorship, and get coached through whatever the challenge is. That's a big commitment. All right. Why else? We can find your first deal. Some people don't want to, hey, C-Suite, I'm going to mute you, brother. You got some background noise there. You're good. I tell people because, I be listening in. I done heard some people getting cussed out. I listen for about 3 minutes. If ain't nothing good, I'll tell them, hey, you got your mute off. We can find your first deal. So we have an offering where You come in, we just find your first deal for you. So you can do your first flip before you even know what you're doing. And we'll support you through the entire process. All right. Trainings, they're all live. They're taught by me, sometimes James, sometimes going forward by Dr. Alfred Smith. And they're all virtual. So you can do it from anywhere in the country. And we're flexible. We do it in the evenings. We understand people got lives. People got to put food on the table. I don't recommend quitting your job to jump into real estate investing. I absolutely don't. I don't care what they tell you on TikTok and Instagram. That is a bad decision and poor planning. All right. So if you guys are interested in seeing how we can mentor you, go to 4datapoints.com or text that number 702-710-8030. If you don't know what questions to ask, I will ask the tough questions for you. Amen. Amen. All right. So everybody gets that guide. You guys have the instructions already. I'm going to jump back on. I'll probably be back on in about an hour with my brother Anthony Glenn and the Win in Real Estate team. I just went down there. Shout out to Anthony Glenn for being hospitable, and me and the family went and stayed at his crib, and we just relaxed like we do ever so often. Good dude, doing a lot of good things for agents and folks that are in the mortgage space, creating a lot of opportunities for folks. And he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to do what he does on TikTok. He was rich before all this. I can confirm it. Right. And I'm not just going to talk good about people behind their back for no reason. Right. There's a reason. I don't do business with just anybody. So shout out to him and the Winning Real Estate Group. Tavares, man, I appreciate you, brother, for sticking it out. James Lewis, I don't know where James went. I think he had I was going to stop. Shout out to James Lewis. James always gets a lot of compliments for his knowledge on the business acumen side. So hopefully we see more of James. He works with folks in our real estate family on the business side of things. And he's an asset to the team. Tavares, man, I appreciate you being an asset to the team, man. Tavares, if you guys hear from Tavares, checking in on you. Those in our real estate family, Tavares manages resident relations. I feel like I'm back in the multifamily commercial industry. All right, student relations. He's not going to chase you down, though. He's not going to chase you down. All right, you guys don't wait for him to call you to get you back in gear.
That's right.
That being said, we are out. Man, it takes us too long to get this stuff set up. All right, everybody, I'm ending the stream. Not on TikTok. No, I'm not in